I want to do something that is going to leverage myself as a person and gain credibility, and not only credibility, but just meet people. If I'm not networking with people, how am I going to succeed? I know that a network is a net worth. You really have to gain people's respect and trust in your product, because we don't serve the product that's, here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
A lot of guys want to see that what they're buying from us is there for a long period of time, that they know they can trust us and come back with their purchase. At the end of the day, it's just networking, whether it's business related, meeting someone I've never met before, getting a little bit of knowledge from them, from their business. I think it correlates to everyone at the end of the day.
Welcome back to another episode of What Would It Cost? Today I have my good friend of mine, El, and I do want to make mention that by a landslide, he is the youngest guest that we've had on this podcast, and for good reason. This guy's got so many amazing things going for him. He's got a really, really, really bright future. But more importantly, outside of all the business stuff, this guy's a good human being, and he's going to be good to a lot of people, that anyone who comes in his way for years and years to come, and the world needs more leaders like El. So El, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks,
and welcome to What Would It Cost?
Thank you. Love it.
El, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I remember where I had first seen you was on Instagram when you were doing your podcast, the very first one with Adriano Volpentesta.
Exactly.
So when I seen that, I go, I love this. Here is a young man who's ambitious.
Thank you.
He's got some awesome entrepreneurial spirit. He's starting up this podcast. He's taking a shot at it. And I know how scary that could be, because we did that ourselves.
Yeah.
And it takes balls. So good on you. And when I seen that, I go, I want to support him. I want to get behind him. I want to throw everything that I got at him, because I'm all about working with, young entrepreneurs that inspire me. Right. And that move inspired me. So that's how I came across El, right, on the gram. And he was nice enough to host me on his podcast.
Yeah, of course.
And I felt very grateful and privileged to have that opportunity. And here we are, and now I'm hosting you, right?
Thank you.
So lots to talk about today. But let's start off with yourself and how you got into the entrepreneurial space, and what is it that you're focused on a day-to-day business, and the primary business being the furniture aspect, right? Yeah,
for sure.
Go for it, bro.
Yeah, man. So, we started off, myself, with the furniture side. It's just been day to day on the entrepreneurship side, always understanding what I can add to the business from a family aspect, being the third generation in it. My goal is to see, okay, how can I take it to the next level? How can I add value to it as much as my parents have and my grandparents?
Yeah.
So when it comes to the furniture side, I'm always trying to look at new avenues that we haven't hit in the past and try to say, okay, why don't we tap into this, such as like offices, and why don't we tap into a different world of furniture with design and so forth than the day-to-day products that we have. So from that sense, I'm always looking at how to implement, also today's society with social media, technology, trying to bring that into play. Because you're talking, an old school background, people who don't understand what that is. And then when you try to explain it to them and they actually understand it, it's super interesting to see where it goes. So that's been fun to do. But also on an entrepreneurship side, like you mentioned.
I love your perspective.
Yeah.
That's been fun to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's all about perspective and looking at things from a glass half full. I like to say the optimistic side is what I see you really look at things and understand them, because that could be really challenging too, right?
It is.
When you're trying to take anyone, and whether they're old or whether they're young, and teach them something that's so foreign to them, and your family and the business has had so much success throughout the years without that.
100%.
So hey,
100%.
now,
I get what you're saying.
don't be bringing anything into the mix that might mess things up, right?
Never,
so that's what they're looking at you and saying, hey, everything's good. Like, come on, man. What are you talking about, the social media thing, right?
Exactly.
So challenging, to say the least. Good on you for being that that one in the family that's gonna have it be that breakthrough happens. Challenging, but I like how you use the word fun.
It is fun. It definitely is.
Good for you.
It is. It's awesome, and it's once they see the results and we I got to say, I got to give it to them because they definitely give me a lot of leeway, and they trust me, and they see what I'm trying to do and see where I'm trying to grow for them.
Yeah.
And so I give them a lot for that, because if they weren't that way, then it wouldn't go where it is.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that from their aspect. So yeah, it's been awesome. It's definitely something that's going to change over time, but it's cool. It's cool to see.
Yeah. Nice. Good for you. And proud moment when Pop started to see the and Mom, the platform kind of bring on some guests 100%. That, they seen walk through there and take a liking to the business or get the views up on YouTube, or you now have some more contacts in your Rolodex to be able to, introduce your product to, or your projects, right? Like proud moment from them.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It
Good. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. They love it. They love it.
Yeah. That's so cool. And another compliment to you. You work with your father.
Yes.
You work with your family.
Yes.
That's something that could be challenging as well.
100%.
And to leave work at home, or to leave work at work and not bring that home with you, right? Go into a little bit about that, because again, the family business is so big, it's so intense. There's a lot of moving parts, right? And you and your dad are probably shoulder to shoulder on a day in, day out basis. So 100%. How do you detach that? Do you detach that? Is it something that you enjoy bringing home with you? I'm always interested in that dynamic, because as a young man, that's who I was rolling with too, was Pops, right?
Exactly.
So that was tough for me, right? But maybe not for you.
I mean, I would say the same. Yeah, It's definitely tough, but it's also, I haven't, at least yet in today's time, I've never seen the business as like a job for me. I've never seen being there talking to my father about business as something that was like a chore or something that I had to do. It became natural to me.
Nice.
I felt like as soon as I was kind of groomed into it at a young age, being there, not even work related, just being there at a young age. My grandmother was there, my grandfather started it together, and it felt just like another home.
Yeah.
So when I go home now, and I've just recently in the past 3-4 years getting into the business, I would say at home it doesn't stop. The conversation's always there.
Yeah.
But it just, to me, that feels like home either way.
Yeah.
There's also the other side of, okay, maybe you want to just talk to your dad about certain things, your father about life and things going on, and we definitely have those times. But it's nice because sometimes those thoughts and those visions come outside of the office. They come at home when you're talking with him one-on-one, and you say, okay, hey, Richard, like I saw this go on, and I call him Richard at work. We all call each other professionally by names at work, just to keep the mindset in that way.
Yeah.
When we're meeting with clients, it just looks more, I guess, respectable, and so. Yeah, when it's at home, it's like, okay, like I saw you did that today, or you went to a meeting with so and so, but why don't you offer them this, or why don't you discuss maybe the possibility of going into this later? And that's where the things kind of we spark each other at night. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
and no better mentor than the Pops, right?
It's awesome.
Yeah. That's so cool. And I had the pleasure of meeting him, like I was saying a little earlier, and your mother from Ghetto. So it was nice. It was warm.
Yeah.
It was a warm feeling. You could tell you guys are such a good family, and you got some awesome core values, right?
Yeah.
So and now what I find really exciting about your operation is some of the cool projects that you're building out for,
100%.
right? Like.
100%.
It's not cookie cutter stuff.
No.
Like you guys are doing cool commercial work for like cool establishments. Like Real Sports Bar was one of them, right? And I'm sure the list is long. So
it is.
Talk to us a little bit more about how you guys are very unique in that way, right? Yeah.
For sure. I think the years of experience definitely comes down to that and brings that into the picture, because in our market, there's not a lot of competition out there. There's only so many that can know the product, and so many that can understand where to use in certain applications.
Yeah.
So when you talk about like Real Sports Bar, like the NBA courtside down in Toronto, you talk about back in the day when we did some stuff with Tao Group. In New York, we did stuff with Starbucks at one point.
Oh, smokes.
There's a lot of you really have to gain people's respect and trust in your product, because we don't serve the product that's here today and gone tomorrow. A lot of guys want to see that what they're buying from us is there for a long period of time, that they know they can trust us and come back with their purchase, and also be reliable. The product has to last long.
Yeah.
In furniture, it's all about the quality. You can talk about any piece of furniture any day long, but if the quality's not there, it means nothing.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I learned at a young age with my father, and to see it grow with the customers like we mentioned, and even doing some really, really cool resorts like in the St. Kitts and the Bahamas and so forth, that just brings a whole nother challenge to the game. And it's continuing to bring a challenge, but it's awesome. They're projects at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. And is that something that you continue to look to do with?
For sure.
Is like, okay. So like cool, unique, one-off commercial projects, not just like this is a set package for your
Never.
residential condo.
Never.
There's 500 units going and it's either this ottoman or that ottoman.
Yeah.
Like you guys aren't
Everything.
those guys.
No.
You
No.
can be.
We can be if we
but
need to.
you also go off the beaten path and customize
100%.
in a big way. And I want to
100%.
compliment you. You've done some custom work
Thank
for us
you.
as well.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
these guys are the best, man. Like
Appreciate
the
it.
quality of workmanship, the turnaround time, the way that it's just so easy
Appreciate
to
it.
do business with you and to then end up with a finished product. And when you want to talk about like the intricacies of custom millwork, right? Or, just finished products
Yes.
in general. Like you got to be perfect,
You have
right?
to
Because you're charging a premium.
You have to be.
People are being, they're very particular
Exactly.
when it comes to custom work, right? They're in a certain class that whether it's their business or their home that they want to see perfection.
Yes.
And you got to deliver day in,
100%.
day out, right? And
100%.
I could say and I could vouch that
Thank you.
you delivered. And it was 10 out of 10 all across
Appreciate
the
it.
board. So,
Appreciate it.
I know there's a lot of stresses that come along with that, and
sure.
you didn't make it noticeable at all, right?
No.
Yeah.
No,
So
never.
very
I want
cool.
to make it as seamless as possible. That's what we try to do every day.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying this episode, please make sure to subscribe, like. That's how we keep this movement rolling forward, and it's how we get this episode out to more people that need to be watching it. So come on, subscribe, like. And you're getting into development a
Yes.
little bit
Yeah.
as well, right?
Yeah.
So is that something natural progression for the family? Is it
Yeah.
an interest always kind of lied in the real estate aspect? It's
I think so. A lot of it has to do with the family tradition. My grandfather's someone who was actually in the real estate world when he first came to Canada.
Oh, okay.
One of his first opportunities was being an agent and so forth. And so I think from that point on, my father kind of got a little liking to it and the development side. And when we got, our office building there and other places, we're always trying to look to reinvest into other properties that is going to help the company in the long run. And so when we talk about, we got some stuff going on up north, up in Wasaga, we got a small hotel property up there that we run. And also looking into the future aspect of it, that's also something I have a lot of passion for.
Yeah.
That I think I give to my father again. He's always been willing to bring me into the picture at a young age and kind of allow me to sit in certain meetings and meet with certain people that have gotten me to understand the perspective and how cool it is just to see like something go from a floor plan to a complete building and
Yeah.
to a complete piece of artwork that
Yeah.
stays there for so long. Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. That there's that development piece as well because
For sure.
there's so much to do with
Yes.
just that space in its own. It has a level of sophistication that needs to be respected, and it's so different from what the family business is. But the
Exactly.
fact that you're now dialing in and
Yes.
getting really involved in that space
Exactly.
is so cool. And I'm sure you guys are gonna crush it and nail
Appreciate
it out of the park
Appreciate it.
as you've done with the other space, right?
Thank you.
So yeah.
Thank you.
And talk a little bit about the podcast,
Of course.
like because again, right? Like I started the intro off and
Yeah.
talking a little bit about that's how we met. But
Yeah.
what like I know
I love this story.
I know the whole like the whole play on content now
Yeah,
is
yeah.
do the podcast, repurpose the content, collaborate
up,
it,
yeah.
share audience through collaboration. Like
Yeah.
if you know this world, it's kind of standard and generic. But again, right? Like very young man doesn't really,
No,
have
anything.
have it be that it has any correlation with the business.
for sure.
It's a brand that's on its own. It's a standalone brand. It's not
Yes.
like you used one of your existing family companies to leverage an
Yeah.
audience or a crowd to come in, and you put yourself out there and
Yeah.
you're like, I'm doing a podcast.
Exactly.
Bring me through that.
100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for those who don't know, like I'm in university. I go to University of Ottawa.
Yeah.
And so that has to do with it because in first year university and being at a school that's groomed me for university, it's all about, networking and meeting people, especially in the business side of things. I'm doing business, a bachelor's of commerce. And so I went to all these events the first year. And as much as they were great, don't get me wrong, I also realized that there was just something not clicking with networking. It was like, okay, this is just an event to me. How do you actually meet people? How do you actually make a connection and leave an impression to them, whether it's business related or just as a person in a business environment? So I said, you know what? It was like 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm in my apartment there in Ottawa, and I said, I want to do something that is going to leverage myself as a person and gain credibility, and not only credibility, but just meet people.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not networking with people, how am I going to succeed? I know that a network is a net worth. So that's what I did. 2 a.m. in the morning, I started making random logos. I started thinking of what's a name that I can talk about everything, that can generalize it, that won't keep it too limited to one topic. So I said, okay, balance, lifestyle, can do with business, it can do with personal life, it can do with health, it can do with everything. So I said, okay, the lifestyle balance. And then I came home, and at first it was just going to be myself. I said, I have no idea how to even record anything, edit anything. I don't even know how to post other than post my own photo for my birthday on Instagram. So I said, you know what? Let me get somebody involved here, someone that is in a similar perspective, going to university, wants to put himself out there, a little bit shy. Called up my buddy Nick. We went to Big Cannoli. We had a little coffee, and we said, I had this idea of a podcast. Why don't let's do it together, and let's see where it goes. And
Nice.
So November last year we started, and it's just been full force from there. Meeting
Nice.
people, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome journey.
And he's an awesome wingman.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
like
he is.
he's quiet,
Yeah,
he's
he's quiet.
chill.
We're getting him out
he
there.
laughs, he
Yeah.
smiles.
Yeah.
You can tell
Yeah.
like when there's certain points in the convo that
Yeah.
get good, he's like,
Yeah.
like he's in
He's
it.
writing it down.
He's
Yeah.
in it, but he's not. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's so cool. And
Yeah.
it's always nice to have a partner that you're able to high five with.
For sure.
One partner brings a certain amount of strength to the
For sure.
table and helps the other partner,
Exactly.
just continue to
Yeah.
complete that full vision, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
So what does that look like in regards to what you want to grow it to? Who are the guests that
For sure.
I know, because we had a little talk before the cameras came on, that you
Yeah.
got some really cool names that are
Yeah.
going to be coming on.
Exactly.
You've had some awesome names that are already on there.
Yeah.
So what's the end goal with that, right? Like talk a little bit about your strategy on
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
the vision's at. Yeah.
So recently I've been planning it very, very strategically. I think the strategy is going to be, like you mentioned a little bit earlier, how I had no connection to the business side of things, how it was just myself. I think I want to start turning it into kind of like segmented off into different sections. So the lifestyle balance is now going to be sort of like the branding of it.
Okay.
And I want to add into the aspect of, going out there on mobile, going out to restaurant clients,
Okay.
showing their space, showing the behind the scenes of how they actually operate day to day, from, CEO, chefs, waiters, servers, getting their food in, their prep, everything. So there's a restaurant side I want to bring into it. The content side is always what's getting entertainment. So for sure have that as well. But at the end of the day, it's just networking, whether it's business related, meeting someone I've never met before, getting a little bit of knowledge from them, from their business is I think it correlates to everyone at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good for you, man. Yeah. And to strengthen that point,
Mm-hmm.
I take on a lot of my, knowledge and continued, education
Yeah.
through these podcasts,
100%.
right? Like when I
100%.
listen to whoever it is speaking,
Yeah.
right? There's always something
Yeah.
that I take, if not multiple things through that
Yeah.
conversation and say, you know what, I'm going to apply that, or
Yeah.
that was a good idea, or holy smokes, I didn't know that,
Didn't
right?
think
So
about it. Yeah, exactly.
there's so many benefits to having
100%.
a podcast in place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now, what is it that you're going to be very focused on for 2024, right? And what does it look like on when you're completing, when you're done school
100%.
and you're full time, right?
100%.
So talk about
I will.
your work-life balance and what that looks
100%.
like, yeah.
100%.
Because you
So
got a
right
lot
now
going
it's-
on for a young man,
it's
right?
not much of a balance right now, and that's why I have these guests on to understand how they do it. But I think for me is first off getting my degree finished, and then transitioning as I am now slowly with the business. But as soon as I finish, I think for sure is going to take on a larger responsibility there, and lay out with the investment size is try to put together a portfolio.
Yeah.
I have like a 10-year trajectory that I just try to put on boards and look at every day to keep me into it. And so I have a trajectory of certain properties and types of properties that I want to acquire, not only acquire, but actually develop for the long run.
Nice.
For the family and for myself. So that's going to be a big play involved with it. And also just growing the podcast alongside when I have time.
Nice.
You know, before it was all about getting out content day to day, get 5 guys in 1 week, 10 episodes, and spread them out throughout the year. And now it's like, okay, let's get the quality happening. Let's dim it down into professionalism, maybe get some sponsorships happening into it, and go from there.
Nice.
That's
nice.
2024. Yeah.
You're the youngest guest that I've ever had on the podcast.
Wow, I'm
officially.
I'm honored.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
And by a bit too.
Yeah?
By a bit.
It's a little or a lot?
Like a bit. I'm sorry. I should say by a bit. Like I meant like a nice gap.
Okay.
Like a good gap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And reason being is not because you hosted me on your podcast.
Appreciate that.
Right? It's not. It's not just an exchange.
I know.
Out of respect.
For sure.
I admired how awesome you were at when we dealt with you for getting the work done that we got done here at headquarters.
Thank you.
I admired the balls that you had when you started your podcast.
Thank you.
But I get a really good sense for when someone is just a really good person, right? And is not only going to rock out in business, but there's going to be good to a lot of people. And that's good for the world. You know, that's what we need, right? Good people got to rise up and to do business with people that have big hearts, that are genuine, that you know aren't going to put a knife in your back or do you wrong, right? Like those are the leaders that this world needs more of, right? So I found that in you. And
Thank you.
I look past the age thing and I go, wow,
Appreciate that.
this kid's special. And he's going to be good to a lot of people. Not only are you going to employ a lot of people and be awesome to them, you're going to do work for a lot of people and get the job done and make sure it's awesome work. You're going to put a lot of people on your platform and allow them to shine. And you're going to do a lot of other great things too, right? So I wanted to definitely make mention that Elle is by a landslide, not a bit, the youngest guest that we've had on this podcast. And it's not because he hosted me on his, it's because of all those things that I just said, right? So yeah, man, thank you for coming out, right?
Anytime.
And thank you for this feature, because I know one day I'm going to go back in the library on What Would It Cost, and I'm going to be like, hey, I had Elle on my podcast, man. This guy's pretty big time, and I had him on my podcast, you know? And I'm sure of that, right? And I'm happy that, you know, we're dancing, and there's a lot more dancing to do, right? Sure. But this is a big goal of ours as a company, is to align ourselves with good people like you, because you are the company that you keep. And I know it sounds very cliche, and you know it's a saying that everyone's heard a million times before, but you know, show me the people that you surround yourself 100%. With an ongoing basis, and without 100%. Me meeting you, I'll be able to tell and give you a pretty good idea as to who the heck you are, you know? So we want to stay close to people like you, right? Sure. And thank you for coming on, brother.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. I love it. First time as a guest, too, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, thank you very much for tuning in to What Would It Cost? Another episode in the books. Had an absolute pleasure hosting. Good friend of mine, an associate partner, Elle. And this kid's got so much going on. So make sure to follow along. Where is it that they could find you, Elle?
They can find me Lifestyle Balance Podcast, Uni Chairs, and you can also find us right here in Vaughan. So, yeah.
That's it. Make sure to follow along. This guy's got a lot of things going on, and it's going to be a cool story to follow throughout the years. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. It all matters at the end, and we're trying to beef up those views and those subs to get this podcast out to more people in the world, and we need your help, so would really appreciate that.